Humans refuse alien demands, roared the Council. Now regrets it all. The massive space station called the Nexus floated in the darkness of space like a small moon. It was built thousands of years ago by species so old that humans couldn't even imagine their history. Captain Minho stood at the window of his ship, the Horizon's Promise, and stared at the station. He had never seen anything so large. It could probably fit 100 cities inside it. "Captain, we're being hailed," said his communications officer. "They're ready for us." Minho straightened his uniform and walked toward the docking bay. Beside him was Ambassador Choi Gina, Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council. She looked calm, but Minho could see her hands were shaking slightly. This was the most important meeting in human history. "Are you ready?" Minho asked her quietly. "As ready as I'll ever be," Choi replied. "We're about to meet aliens who have ruled the galaxy for longer than humans have existed. I just hope they're friendly." Dr. Yoon Dae joined them, carrying a tablet filled with information about the various alien species they might meet. He had studied everything Earth scientists knew about the Council, which wasn't much. Humanity had only invented faster-than-light travel 3 years ago. They were newcomers to a very old neighborhood. The docking procedure took an hour. When the airlock finally opened, they stepped into a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. The walls glowed with a soft blue light, and the air smelled strange like flowers mixed with metal. 2 tall aliens waited for them. They had 4 arms each and skin that looked like polished stone. "Welcome," one of them said in perfect English. "The Council awaits you in the Grand Chamber. Please follow us." They walked for what felt like miles through the station. Minho saw dozens of different alien species going about their business. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated or crawled. One creature looked like a living cloud of gas contained in a transparent suit. The diversity was incredible and terrifying at the same time. Finally, they entered an enormous chamber. It was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising in circles toward the ceiling. Hundreds of aliens sat in those seats, representing dozens of different species. At the bottom of the bowl was a raised platform where 3 figures stood. The central figure was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Its eyes were completely black and seemed to absorb light. This was Council Prime Belthar, the leader of the Galactic Council. "Humans of Earth." Belthar's voice echoed through the chamber without any visible speakers. "We welcome you to the galactic community. Your species has achieved faster-than-light travel and thus earned the right to stand before us." Ambassador Choi stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Council Prime. We are honored to be here and eager to learn from the wisdom of older civilizations." Belthar made a gesture that might have been a smile. "Your eagerness is noted. Now we shall proceed with the integration protocols. These are the terms by which all new species join the galactic community." A holographic document appeared in the air between them. It was written in English, which meant the Council had been studying humanity for some time. Choi began to read, and with each line, her face grew paler. The first demand stated that all human military forces must be disbanded immediately. The Council would provide peacekeepers to maintain order on Earth and its colonies. The second demand said that Earth's governments must dissolve. The Council would appoint governors to rule in their place. The third demand prohibited all human research into weapons technology. The Council would decide what technologies humanity was allowed to develop. The fourth demand was the worst. 30% of Earth's population, nearly 3 billion people, must be relocated to other parts of the galaxy for labor assignments. The document didn't explain what these assignments were. The fifth demand stated that human reproduction must be regulated. Council biologists would decide who could have children and how many to improve the species and prevent overpopulation. Choi read the entire document twice, hoping she had misunderstood something. But the words were clear. The Council wasn't offering friendship or partnership. They were demanding complete surrender. "This is unacceptable," Choi said, her voice steady despite her shock. "These aren't integration protocols. This is slavery." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Some seemed surprised. Others looked amused, Belthar's black eyes fixed on Choi. "You misunderstand. These protocols have been accepted by every species that has joined the Council for the past 200,000 years. They ensure peace and order throughout the galaxy. Your species is young and violent. You need guidance. We need freedom," Choi said firmly. We didn't fight our way through centuries of war and struggle just to surrender our independence to strangers. Your struggles are irrelevant, Velthar replied coldly. You are one species among thousands. You are newcomers with primitive technology and aggressive tendencies. The protocols exist to protect the galaxy from species like yours. Captain Minho stepped forward. His military training told him this was a threat, not a negotiation. What happens if we refuse? Velthar made that strange smile gesture again. No species has ever refused. Those who initially hesitated were shown the consequences of defiance. Economic blockades. Demonstrations of military power. Eventually, they all accepted. The alternative to peace is correction, and correction is unpleasant. Is that a threat? Minho asked. It is a fact, Velthar said. We have maintained order in this galaxy for longer than your species has existed. We know what is necessary. You are being offered a choice. Join willingly and be welcomed, or resist and be corrected. Dr. Yoon had been studying the aliens in the chamber. He leaned close to Choi and whispered, "Notice their body language. Many of them look uncomfortable. I don't think everyone here supports this." Choi nodded slightly. She looked up at the hundreds of alien representatives and then back at Velthar. This moment would define humanity's future. Every instinct told her to be diplomatic, to ask for time, to find a compromise. But some things couldn't be compromised. Then our answer is no, Choi said clearly. We refuse your protocols. We will not disband our militaries, dissolve our governments, or surrender our people. Humanity will remain free. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens spoke in dozens of languages, creating a cacophony of sound. Some seemed shocked. Others appeared angry. A few, Choi noticed, looked almost hopeful. Velthar raised a hand and silence fell. You speak foolishly. You do not understand what you are refusing. I understand perfectly, Choi replied. You want us to trade our freedom for your protection. But we've learned something in our short history. Freedom is worth more than safety. We'd rather face danger as free people than live safely as slaves. You are condemning your species, Velthar said. We will give you 30 of your Earth days to reconsider. At the end of that time, you will accept the protocols or face the consequences. We will send observers to your worlds to monitor your decision. Use this time wisely. The meeting ended abruptly. Guards escorted Minho, Choi, and Yoon back to their ship. As they walked through the corridors, Yoon kept glancing at the aliens they passed. Some avoided eye contact. Others watched them with expressions that might have been respect. Back aboard the Horizon's Promise, Minho immediately contacted Earth. The transmission would take hours to arrive, but the message was urgent. Choi stood beside him as he recorded. Admiral Park, this is Captain Minho. We have a situation. The Galactic Council has issued demands that are unacceptable. Ambassador Choi has refused them. We have 30 days before they take action. I'm sending all the data we collected. Begin preparations immediately. This isn't going to end peacefully. After the message was sent, the three of them sat in silence. Finally, Yoon spoke. Did we just start a war? No, Choi said quietly. We just refused to surrender before it began. There's a difference. Minho looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Earth was going about its business, unaware that everything had changed. In 30 days, humanity would either stand alone against an empire that had ruled for 200,000 years, or they would kneel. He knew which option humanity would choose. Humans had never been good at kneeling. Humans refuse alien demands. The Council now regrets it. All Admiral Park Ji-woo received Captain Minho's message while sitting in her office at the United Defense Fleet headquarters in Geneva. She listened to it 3 times, then called an emergency meeting. Within 6 hours, every major military and scientific leader on Earth gathered in the secure conference room deep underground. They want us to surrender, Park said without introduction. Complete surrender. They're giving us 30 days to comply. The room erupted in angry voices. General Nam Hyejin slammed her fist on the table. 30 days? They think we'll just hand over our freedom in 30 days? They've been doing this for 200,000 years, said Commander Lee Rena, who led special operations. Every species they've encountered has eventually accepted. They think we will too. Then they don't know humans very well, Park replied. She activated the holographic display, showing Earth and its 17 colony worlds. The Council is sending observation fleets to every human settlement. They think these fleets will scare us into submission, but these observers are going to learn something important about humanity. What's that? asked Kim Suho, the head of advanced weapons research. Park smiled coldly. They're going to learn that we've been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars. The next 30 days became the most intense period in human history. While Ambassador Choi remained at the Nexus, continuing meaningless negotiations to buy time, humanity mobilized for war. On Earth, factories that had been building civilian spacecraft suddenly switched to military production. Thousands of ships began taking shape in orbital shipyards. These weren't like the Council's massive warships. Human ships were smaller, faster, and equipped with weapons the Council had never seen. Kim Suho revealed projects that had been classified for decades. Humanity hadn't been idle since achieving faster-than-light travel. Scientists had been developing weapons based on a simple assumption. Someday they might meet aliens who weren't friendly. The quantum disruption missile was one such weapon. It released a pulse that scrambled electronic systems, turning advanced starships into useless metal boxes. The Council's ships were old and relied on the same technology for everything. One quantum pulse could disable an entire fleet. Then there were the drone swarms. Millions of small, cheap attack drones controlled by advanced artificial intelligence. Each drone was individually weak, but together they could overwhelm any defense system. And unlike ships with crews, drones could make maneuvers that would kill living pilots. Commander Lee took a different approach. While the Council's observation ships watched humanity's obvious military preparations, Lee sent small teams to infiltrate Council vessels. Her operatives were experts at moving unseen and leaving no trace. They planted surveillance devices and, more importantly, sabotage programs deep in the Council ship's computer systems. The Council has been at peace for so long they've forgotten basic security. Lee reported to Admiral Park. Their systems have no protection against infiltration. It's like they can't imagine anyone would try. Good, Park said. What about their tactics? Standardized, Lee replied. Every Council species uses the same battle formations, the same strategies. They haven't fought a real war in thousands of years. Everything they do is predictable. This was humanity's greatest advantage. The Council had power in numbers, but humans had something more valuable: experience with war. Earth's history was filled with conflict, and humanity had learned every possible way to fight. Guerrilla warfare, psychological operations, deception, sabotage, amour. These were concepts the Council had never needed to consider. Dr. Yoon, still aboard the Horizon's Promise, sent back detailed analysis of Council technology. He discovered that while the Council's weapons were powerful, they were also inflexible. Council ships followed programmed patterns. Their commanders made decisions based on protocols that hadn't changed in thousands of years. They fight by the book, Yoon's report stated. And it's a very old book. If we can make them fight a battle they've never planned for, we'll have the advantage. On the colony world of New Sol, preparations took a different form. The planet held 12 million humans, and the Council had sent a large observation fleet to orbit nearby. Park knew the Council would strike there first. New Sol was isolated and seemed defenseless. It would be an easy target for demonstrating Council power. So Park turned New Sol into a trap. The colony's defenses looked minimal from orbit. A few orbital platforms, some patrol ships. The Council's observers saw exactly what they expected to see: a vulnerable human settlement that couldn't possibly resist. What they didn't see was hidden on the dark side of New Sol's moon. Captain Baixena commanded a fleet of 50 stealth ships that had been carefully positioned over weeks. These ships used technology that made them invisible to Council sensors. They waited in complete silence, ready to strike. Meanwhile, Ambassador Choi continued her performance at the Nexus. She asked endless questions about the integration protocols. She requested clarifications on minor details. She proposed meaningless amendments that she knew would be rejected. Every conversation bought humanity a few more hours of preparation time. Council Prime Velthar grew increasingly impatient. Your delays are pointless, Ambassador. The protocols cannot be changed. Every day you waste is another day your species remains in defiance. We simply want to understand what we're agreeing to, Choi replied smoothly. Surely after 200,000 years you can spare a few weeks to help us understand. But Choi had also been working on something else. She had made contact with Counselor Thren, an alien representative who seemed uncomfortable with the Council's aggressive approach. Through carefully worded conversations, Choi learned that not all council species supported forcing humanity to submit. Many had been conquered themselves and resented serving the council. There hasn't been a successful rebellion in 50,000 years, Thren told her during a private meeting. The council is too strong, but if someone could actually defeat them in battle, it might inspire others to resist. Is that advice or wishful thinking? Choi asked. Perhaps both, Thren replied. But I warn you, the council will not accept defiance. When your 30 days end, they will attack with overwhelming force, and they will not show mercy. Then we'll have to make sure they regret it, Choi said. Back on Earth, the final preparations were complete. Every human warship was in position. Every weapon system was armed. Every soldier knew their role. Admiral Park stood in the command center, watching the countdown clock. 3 hours remained until the deadline. She opened a channel to all human forces throughout the galaxy. Her face appeared on millions of screens. This is Admiral Park. In 3 hours, the Galactic Council will demand our final answer. They expect us to surrender. They believe we will choose survival over freedom, but they don't understand us. Humans have faced extinction before. We've fought impossible odds. We've stood alone against enemies that seemed unbeatable, and we've never surrendered our freedom. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Today we remind the galaxy why humanity survived when other species fell. We show them that freedom is worth fighting for. We teach them that threatening humans was the biggest mistake they could make. Stay strong, trust your training, and remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species the Council has ever enslaved. The channel closed. Park turned to her command staff. Send the message to Ambassador Choi. Tell her to deliver our answer. At the Nexus, Choi stood before the assembled council for the last time. Felthar looked down at her with his black, absorbing eyes. Your time has expired, Ambassador. What is humanity's final answer? Choi took a deep breath. She thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who were counting on her. She thought about humanity's long struggle from caves to the stars. And she thought about the future her people deserved. Our answer is the same as it was 30 days ago, she said clearly. No, we will not surrender. We will not disband our militaries. We will not dissolve our governments. We will not hand over our people. Humanity remains free, and if you try to force us, you will learn what humans do when threatened. She paused, then added with steel in her voice, Withdraw from our space. Council Prime, withdraw now or face the consequences. The chamber fell silent. No species had ever threatened the Council. Felthar's expression didn't change, but his voice carried barely controlled rage. Then you have chosen correction. So be it. For humans refuse alien demands. The Council now regrets it. All the Council's demonstration fleet arrived at New Sol exactly on schedule. 200 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons that could destroy cities. The fleet commander, Enforcer Quirin, opened a communication channel to the planet below. Humans of New Sol, this is the Galactic Council fleet. You have 1 hour to surrender your orbital defenses and accept Council authority. If you resist, we will demonstrate the consequences of defying the Council. Your suffering will be broadcast across the galaxy as a warning to your species. On the planet's surface, Fleet Coordinator Otaman smiled grimly. Everything was proceeding exactly as Admiral Park had predicted. The Council was so confident in their superiority that they hadn't even bothered to scan for hidden threats. All forces, this is Coordinator O. Maintain defensive positions. Let them get comfortable. Captain Bayek, you are authorized to engage on my mark. Hidden behind New Sol's moon, Captain Bayeksana sat in the commander's chair of the Silent Thunder. Her stealth fleet had been waiting for 3 days in complete silence. 50 ships invisible to Council sensors with their weapons ready. Target acquisition complete, her weapons officer reported. We have firing solutions on 80 enemy vessels. Wait for it, Beck said calmly. She watched the tactical display as the Council fleet moved into attack formation. They were positioning themselves for a bombardment of New Sol's orbital defenses. Standard Council tactics, predictable, stupid. They're in position, her tactical officer said. Beck leaned forward. All ships fire quantum disruption missiles. Maximum spread. 50 ships launched simultaneously. 240 missiles streaked through space, invisible until the moment they struck their targets. The missiles didn't explode. Instead, they released electromagnetic pulses designed specifically to fry the Council's outdated electronic systems. Enforcer Quirin was reviewing the bombardment plan when his ship's lights went out. Emergency systems failed to activate. Life support stopped. The engines died. His vessel became a cold, dark tomb floating in space. Across the Council fleet, 80 ships went silent in seconds. The remaining vessels panicked. Their sensors showed no attackers, no visible threats. Ships were simply dying around them with no explanation. Evasive maneuvers, one Council captain screamed. But there was nowhere to evade. The enemy was everywhere and nowhere. Captain Beck's fleet emerged from the moon's shadow, weapons blazing. Railgun rounds tore through Council ships that had no power for shields. Energy weapons carved through hulls. The Council tried to return fire, but their ships were in chaos, their formations broken. Then the second wave hit. From New Sol's surface, thousands of small objects launched into orbit. They looked like metal insects, each one barely larger than a person. These were Commander Lee's drone swarms. The Council's point defense systems tried to shoot down the drones, but there were too many. For every drone destroyed, 10 more took its place. The drones weren't individually powerful, but they didn't need to be. They swarmed over Council ships like ants, cutting through armor, destroying weapon ports, and crippling engines. And they were learning. Each drone shared information with the others through their networked intelligence. When the Council adapted their defenses, the drones adapted faster. Inside one Council ship, Commander Lee's sabotage programs activated. Hidden deep in the ship's computer systems for weeks, these programs now took control. The ship's weapons turned and fired on its own allies. Its navigation sent it on a collision course with another Council vessel. Similar events happened across the fleet. Council ships began firing on each other, unable to distinguish friend from enemy. Their communications were jammed. Their sensors showed false targets. Everything they tried to do made the situation worse. Enforcer Quirin sat in his dead ship, listening to the panicked communications from vessels that still had power. His fleet was being destroyed by an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't predict, and couldn't fight. In his long military career, he had never experienced anything like this, a human message broadcast across all frequencies. This is Captain Beck Sena of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your attack on New Sol was a mistake. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Quirin tried to respond, but his ship's systems were completely dead. He could only listen as his fleet fell apart around him. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the numbers told a devastating story. Of the Council's 200 ships, 147 were destroyed. 41 were captured, their crews taken prisoner. Only 12 ships escaped, jumping to faster-than-light speeds in random directions. Human casualties: 2 ships lost, 340 personnel dead. New Sol's orbital space was filled with debris and damaged Council vessels. Human recovery teams began searching for survivors, both Council and human. The medical facilities on New Sol were overwhelmed, treating wounded from both sides. Captain Bayek walked through the captured Council flagship. The ship was enormous, 10 times larger than any human vessel. But size hadn't mattered. The Council had built their ships to intimidate and overpower. They had forgotten how to actually fight. She found Enforcer Quirin in his command center, still alive thanks to an emergency oxygen supply. He looked at her with something like disbelief. "How?" he asked. "We had superior numbers, superior firepower, superior technology." Beck removed her helmet. "You had all those things, but you didn't have recent experience with war. You've been at peace so long you forgot what real combat looks like." "Your weapons," Quirin said. "We've never seen anything like them." "You wouldn't have," Beck replied. "We developed them specifically to fight enemies like you. While your species spent thousands of years perfecting peace, humans spent thousands of years perfecting war. Today you learned the difference." The news of the Battle of New Sol spread across the galaxy at the speed of light. On the Nexus, Council Prime Velthar received the reports in stunned silence. Impossible. The Council fleet had been destroyed by a species that barely knew how to travel between stars. It couldn't be real, but it was real, and it changed everything. Ambassador Choi stood before the Council Assembly. Many of the alien representatives looked at her differently now, not with contempt or amusement, but with something else: fear, respect, uncertainty. "You said correction would be unpleasant," Choi said to Velthar. "You were right. But not for us. Velthar's black eyes seemed to burn with rage. You have destroyed a council fleet. This is an act of war. The council will mobilize its full military might. You will be crushed. You're welcome to try, Choi replied. But before you do, consider this. We destroyed your demonstration fleet with a fraction of our forces. We used weapons you've never encountered. We employed tactics you don't understand. And we did it while protecting our people and minimizing casualties. She looked around the chamber. Every species here watched what happened at New Sol. You all know that your fleets use the same technology, the same tactics, the same strategies as the ships we just destroyed. So ask yourselves, if we can defeat 200 council ships, what happens when you send 2,000? A murmur ran through the assembly. Some aliens looked angry. Others looked thoughtful. A few, Choi noticed, looked almost hopeful. Councillor Thren caught her eye and gave the slightest nod. The message was clear. Some council species were not happy with how things were going. Velthar raised his hand for silence. Your victory means nothing. It was luck, surprise, deception. In a true test of strength, humanity will fall. Then test us, Choi said. Send your full fleet. Send everything you have. But know this. When we win a Rars, and we will win a, the entire galaxy will see that the council is not invincible. And when that happens, how many of your subject species will stay loyal? It was a direct threat, and everyone in the chamber understood it. The council maintained control through fear and perceived invincibility. If humanity could defeat them, that perception would shatter. Velthar ended the session abruptly. But as the council representatives filed out, many of them looked at Choi with new eyes. The humans were no longer amusing newcomers to be corrected. They were a genuine threat to the council's power. In her private quarters, Choi received a secure message from Admiral Park. The council is mobilizing everything they have. 10,000 ships from across the galaxy. They'll be at Earth in 3 weeks. Choi sent a reply. Let them come. We've shown them what happens when they underestimate us. Now we show them what happens when they threaten our home. She looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, 10,000 alien warships were preparing to attack Earth. It would be the largest military operation in galactic history. But Choi wasn't afraid. She had seen what humans could do when defending New Sol. Now she would see what they could do when defending their homeworld. The council thought the Battle of New Sol was humanity's best effort. They were about to learn they were very, very wrong. Though humans refuse alien demands, or the council now regrets it all, the council made their intentions public. They broadcast their plan across every communications channel in the galaxy. 10,000 warships would gather and proceed to Earth. The human homeworld would be conquered, its defenses destroyed, and its people brought into compliance. The message was clear. This is what happens to species that defy the council. But the public announcement gave humanity 3 weeks to prepare. It was a mistake born from arrogance. The council wanted everyone to watch Earth's defeat. Instead, they gave Earth time to turn their star system into the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Admiral Park stood in Earth's orbital command center, looking at the holographic display of her home system. Every asteroid, every moon, every empty piece of space was now a potential weapon. Status report, she ordered. Commander Lee stepped forward. All human colonies have evacuated their non-essential population to hidden locations. Our mobile fleets are in position for hit-and-run attacks on council supply lines. Defensive preparations? Park asked. Engineer Shin Junho activated another display. The asteroid belt now contains 4,000 hidden weapons platforms. Mars has been converted to military production. We're building 100 new ships per day. Luna's dark side hosts our main railgun batteries. And Earth itself. He paused dramatically. Earth has the quantum shield grid. It's experimental, but tests show it can protect the entire planet from orbital bombardment for 72 hours. Only 72 hours? Park asked. The power requirements are enormous, Shin replied. After that, the system will need to cool down for a week. But 3 days should be enough. It'll have to be, Park said. She looked at her command staff. The council is used to fighting traditional battles. Fleet meets fleet, strongest side wins. We're not going to give them that battle. She zoomed the display out to show human territory. Our colonies are already evacuated. Our ships won't mass together for them to destroy. Instead, we fight like humans have always fought when facing superior numbers. We make them bleed for every inch. General Nam spoke up. What about Earth? 10,000 ships is more firepower than we can handle. We don't need to handle all 10,000, Park replied. We need to break their formation, kill their leadership, and make them lose heart. The Council hasn't fought a real war in thousands of years. Their crews have never seen ships burning and friends dying. We're going to give them an education. 3 weeks passed in frantic preparation. Human work crews operated around the clock. Shin's engineers installed weapons in places the Council would never think to look. Commander Lee's Special Forces teams practiced boarding actions. Pilot An Mirai drilled her fighter squadrons in tactics that would make a difference even against massive capital ships. When the Council Armada finally arrived at Earth's outer system, they found something unexpected. The human fleet wasn't waiting for them. Instead, the system seemed almost empty. Where are they? Enforcer Kiran asked. He had survived New Sol, and now commanded a portion of the Council attack force. Sensors show minimal defensive presence. They're hiding, Council Prime Velthar said from his flagship. They know they cannot win in open battle. We will proceed to Earth and demonstrate the price of resistance. The Council fleet moved inward, maintaining their standard formation. It was a formation designed to maximize firepower and protect command ships. It had worked for 10,000 years. It lasted 15 minutes against human ingenuity. The first attack came from the asteroid belt. What looked like ordinary asteroids suddenly activated hidden engines and drove themselves into the Council formation. Each asteroid was filled with explosives. Hundreds of them detonated simultaneously, tearing holes in the Council's neat formations. Before the Council could recover, the hidden weapons platforms activated. 4,000 platforms, each equipped with long-range missiles and railguns, opened fire from positions scattered throughout the belt. The Council tried to return fire, but the platforms were too small, too numerous, and too well hidden. All ships evasive maneuvers, Velthar ordered. But the formations were breaking down. Ships collided with each other, trying to avoid asteroids and weapons fire. Then the human fleet struck. Not in one massive group, but in dozens of small units that hit from every direction. Each unit would fire, destroy a target, and jump away before the Council could respond. It was like fighting ghosts. Kim Suho had saved humanity's most dangerous weapons for this battle. From hidden positions throughout the solar system, fully automated warships activated. These AI-controlled vessels had no crews, which meant they could perform maneuvers that would kill organic pilots. They accelerated at impossible speeds, made turns that would create deadly G-forces, and threw themselves at Council ships in suicide attacks. The Council was in chaos. Their commanders kept ordering standard defensive formations, but standard formations didn't work when enemies attacked from above, below, and all sides simultaneously. When they tried to focus on one threat, 3 others would appear. Pilot An led a squadron of fighters against a Council capital ship. The massive vessel's point defenses should have destroyed the fighters easily, but An had studied Council weapons at New Sol. She knew their tracking speeds, their reload times, their blind spots. "Follow my lead," she transmitted to her squadron. "Hit them in waves, alternate your approach angles." The fighters danced through the Council's defensive fire like leaves in a storm. Half of them were hit, but the other half got through. They fired specialized missiles directly into the capital ship's engine ports. The ship's reactors went critical and the entire vessel exploded. For 5 days, the battle raged. The Council fleet was being torn apart, but they were also inflicting terrible damage. Half of Earth's defense fleet was destroyed. Thousands of the hidden weapons platforms were found and eliminated. The asteroids ran out. On the 6th day, the Council fleet finally broke through the outer defenses and approached Earth itself. 4,000 ships remained, badly damaged but still operational. Velthar looked at the blue-green planet and prepared to give the order for bombardment. "This is your last chance," he broadcast to Earth. "Surrender now or we will turn your planet into ash." Admiral Park stood in the command center, watching the enemy fleet approach. Around her, tired staff members waited for orders. They had fought for 5 days straight. Many of their friends were dead. But they had bought enough time. "Activate the quantum shield," Park ordered. Engineer Shin threw the switch. Across Earth, massive generators powered up. A shimmer appeared in the atmosphere, expanding to cover the entire planet. When the Council's first bombardment hit, the energy weapons simply dissipated against the shield. The kinetic weapons bounced off. Earth was now invulnerable. For 72 hours. "All remaining forces execute final strategy," Park ordered. Captain Minho received the order aboard the Horizon's Promise. His ship had been in reserve, holding back for this moment. Now he understood why. The final strategy wasn't about winning. It was about making sure the Council couldn't win either. Plot a collision course with the Council flagship, Minho ordered his navigator. Maximum speed. His crew looked at him in shock. Sir, that's a suicide mission. I know, Minho said calmly. But if we kill Velthar, we cut off their command structure. The Council fleet will fall apart without leadership. Earth survives. He opened a channel to the crew. This is the captain. I'm giving everyone a direct order to abandon ship. Get to the escape pods. That's an order. Sir, we're not leaving you, his first officer said. Yes, you are, Minho replied firmly. Your job is to survive and help rebuild. My job is to finish this. Now go. One by one, his crew evacuated. Minho sat alone in the command chair, manually controlling his ship. The Horizon's Promise accelerated toward the Council flagship, which loomed larger and larger in the view screen. Velthar saw the human ship approaching. Destroy it, he ordered, but Minho's ship was small and fast. It dodged through the weapons fire, taking hits but continuing forward. At the last moment, Minho armed every explosive device on his ship. For Earth, he said quietly. The Horizon's Promise struck the Council flagship at full speed. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface. When the light faded, both ships were gone. Without Velthar, the Council fleet's command structure collapsed. Different species had different commanders with different priorities. Some wanted to continue fighting. Others wanted to withdraw and regroup. Within hours, the fleet was arguing among themselves instead of attacking Earth. Admiral Park saw her opportunity. All forces full assault. Hit them while they're disorganized. The remaining human forces, including reinforcements that had been hiding in the outer system, struck. The confused Council fleet tried to respond, but without unified command, they couldn't coordinate their defense. By the end of the 7th day, the Council fleet retreated. They left behind nearly 6,000 destroyed or captured ships. The survivors fled in different directions, each commander making their own decision. Earth had survived, but the cost was terrible. 100,000 humans were dead, including Captain Minho. Half of humanity's space fleet was destroyed. The orbital infrastructure was in ruins, but they had won. Against impossible odds. Humans refuse alien demands, or the Council now regrets it. All 3 months after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy was a different place. The Galactic Council, which had ruled for 200,000 years, was falling apart. With Council Prime Velthar dead and their military fleet shattered, the old order had no power to enforce its will. Ambassador Choi sat in her quarters aboard the Nexus, reading reports from across the galaxy. 17 species had declared independence from the Council. 23 others were in open revolt. The remaining species were arguing among themselves about what to do next. Some wanted to rebuild the Council's military and take revenge on humanity. Others wanted to sue for peace. A message appeared on her screen. It was from Counselor Thren, asking for a private meeting. Choi accepted, curious about what the alien representative wanted. They met in a neutral conference room. Thren looked tired, which was strange for a species that didn't sleep the way humans did. The stress of recent events must have been enormous. Ambassador Choi, Thren began, I bring a proposal from 40 species who were once part of the Council. We wish to discuss the possibility of a new alliance. An alliance with humanity? Choi asked carefully. After we destroyed your fleet? Because you destroyed our fleet, Thren corrected. The old Council maintained order through fear and force. We obeyed because we had no choice. But you showed us that the Council was not invincible. You showed us that freedom is possible. Choi leaned back in her chair.
You understand that humanity will never surrender our independence?
Not to a new Council, not to anyone. We are not asking you to surrender anything, Thren said. We are asking you to help us build something different. An alliance of free worlds where each species maintains their own sovereignty. That's a nice idea, Choi said. But why should we trust you? 3 months ago, your species was part of the Council that tried to conquer us. Thren's expression, alien as it was, showed something like shame. You are right to be suspicious. But I will share a truth with you. When the Council voted to attack humanity, 23 species voted against it. We were ruled by the old Inner Circle Mo, the species that founded the Council and controlled it. Now that Inner Circle is broken, The species who wanted peace can finally speak freely. Choi considered this. Dr. Yoon had mentioned in his reports that some council species seemed uncomfortable with the attack. Commander Lee's intelligence supported this aware. Her agents had found evidence that many council crews were conscripts, not volunteers. What kind of alliance are you proposing? Choi asked. We call it the Accord of Free Worlds, Thren explained. Each species would maintain complete control over their own territory, military, and government. No species could be forced to join or forced to stay. Disputes would be resolved through mediation, not military force. Trade and cultural exchange would be encouraged but never mandated. It sounds good on paper, Choi said. But what stops this new alliance from becoming just another council? You do, Thren replied. We want humanity to be part of the founding members. Your presence would remind everyone what happens when free species are threatened. You defeated the greatest military force in galactic history. No one will try to dominate others while humanity stands ready to defend freedom. Choi transmitted the proposal to Earth. Admiral Park called a meeting of human leadership to discuss it. The debate lasted for days. General Nam was against it. We just fought a war to stay independent. Now we're going to tie ourselves to an alliance? It's a trap, but Dr. Yoon disagreed. Not all council species supported the attack. Many of them are as much victims as we are. If we reject them now, they might fall under the control of the 7 species that still support the old council ways. Then we'll be facing another war in a few years. Commander Lee provided intelligence reports. My agents confirmed that the core council species, the 7 that founded Itaparur, have withdrawn to their own territory. They're rebuilding their forces and refusing to participate in any new alliance. They're the real threat. Admiral Park made the final decision. We'll participate in discussions about this new accord, but we go in with our eyes open and our weapons ready. Trust is earned, not given. A summit was called on a neutral planet. 40 species sent representatives. The 7 holdout species from the old council's inner circle refused to attend. They sent a message instead, declaring that they would not accept any new order that didn't preserve council authority. The summit lasted 2 weeks. There were arguments, debates, and cultural misunderstandings. But slowly, the Accord of Free Worlds took shape. The founding principles were simple. Each species controls its own territory. No one can force anyone to join the Accord. Military forces remain under individual species control. Disputes get resolved through talking, not fighting. Trade and cultural exchange are encouraged but optional. Any species can leave whenever they want. Ambassador Choi addressed the assembled representatives. This accord is built on a simple idea: freedom. We believe that each species has the right to govern themselves, to make their own choices, and to face their own consequences. The old council believed in order above all else. We believe in something different. We believe that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. She paused, looking around the room. But let me be clear. Humanity will defend this freedom. Not just our own freedom, but the freedom of every species in this accord. If anyone tries to conquer, enslave, or dominate others, they will face human resistance. We've shown you what happens when you threaten free people. Remember that lesson. The message was received. Captain Bayek, attending as humanity's military representative, made it even clearer. The old council had weapons in numbers. You see how well that worked for them? Free people defending their homes are more dangerous than any empire's army. Remember New Seoul, remember Earth, and remember that we will not hesitate to do it again. 38 species signed the Accord of Free Worlds. 2 species declared themselves neutral, choosing to remain independent but friendly. The 7 holdout species formed their own coalition, calling themselves the Council Remnant. They controlled significant territory and still commanded thousands of warships. They'll be back, Admiral Park said, reviewing the intelligence reports. The Remnant won't accept this new order. Eventually, they'll try to restore the old council by force. Let them try, Choi replied. We beat them once. We can beat them again. And next time we won't be alone. She was right. The Accord of Free Worlds began organizing a voluntary defense force. Species that wanted protection but couldn't defend themselves alone could contribute resources and personnel. Admiral Park was appointed Supreme Commander of the Allied Defense Force. Dr. Yoon started a cultural exchange program, teaching council species about concepts they had never encountered. Representative democracy. Individual rights. The idea that questioning authority isn't rebellion, it's wisdom. Many young aliens found these ideas fascinating. The old generation had known only council rule, but the young generation was learning about alternatives. Engineer Shin began sharing some of humanity's military technology with trusted allies. Not everything, humans weren't stupid, but enough to help other species defend themselves. The quantum disruption missiles, the adaptive drones, the stealth technology that had won the war. Pilot An became an instructor, teaching alien pilots about combat tactics. She was tough but fair, and she earned respect from species who initially doubted that humans could teach them anything. On Earth, construction began on memorials for the 100,000 who died defending humanity's freedom. Captain Minho's name was at the top of the list. His sacrifice had broken the Council's command structure and saved Earth. Statues were erected in his honor on every human world. Commander Lee continued her intelligence work, keeping watch on the Council remnant. Her agents reported that the 7 species were arguing among themselves, unable to agree on a unified strategy. Some wanted immediate revenge against humanity. Others wanted to rebuild their strength first. The divisions gave the Accord time to grow stronger. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, Ambassador Choi stood before the first session of the Accord Assembly. Representatives from 38 species filled the chamber. It was smaller than the old council chamber, but felt more alive. These species were here by choice, not by force. 6 months ago, Choi began, humanity stood before the Galactic Council and refused to surrender our freedom. The Council threatened us with destruction. They sent 10,000 ships to crush us. They believed that force and fear would make us obey. She paused, letting her words sink in. They were wrong. Humans have never been good at obeying threats. We are, however, very good at defending what we believe in. We believe in freedom. We believe in the right of every species to govern themselves. And we believe that these rights are worth fighting for. The old council ruled through fear. This accord is built on respect. The old council demanded obedience. This accord requests cooperation. The old council threatened those who disagreed. This accord debates and discusses. The difference is everything. She looked around the chamber. The council remnant still exists. They still command powerful forces. They still believe that order requires domination. One day they will try to restore the old ways. When that day comes, we will be ready.